Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I've got my girl Kirsty here and I'm going to be fixing these brows. So Kirsty's hairs literally point in the opposite direction to where I want them to sit. So by using the lamination technique, I'm going to be sitting these hairs in the position that I want them to sit in. It's going to make them look fuller, it's going to make them look thicker, and it's going to make them look overall more sensational. Starting with my first solution, which is going to be the Relax Lotion, I'm going to apply this all over the brow hairs. So I'm really going to try and work that product through, lifting those brow hairs up as I go along, making sure they're fully drenched in all the product. Try and work as fast as possible with this product, as you don't want to leave it on for too long or over process them. Kirsty's brows, although she's got quite a lot of them, the hairs are really fine. So I'm going to leave this on for no longer than 4 minutes. So get the product on, get your film on, and then get your stopwatch on. And I'm going to go back in a second. I'm going to show you another little tip. Using one of these tools, I like to go in after it's been a minute and rework the brows. The hairs at this stage have already broken down a bit, so they're a lot more movable and pliable. So you can see when I brush the hairs, you can see already that they're actually brushing into the direction that I want them to sit in. So this is why I like to do it at this stage. And then I like to cover it back up and then put the film on for the further 3 minutes. Sometimes when using this tool, you feel like you're taking some of the product off the brows. So I like to just scrape my tool onto the back of my hand and then reapply the product that I've just took off the tool back onto the brow. So make sure it's fully saturated before you put the film back on. Please just look at this right brow. The hairs are already sitting into the position I want them to sit in. Like, if you can remember before, I couldn't even brush them up because they'd just fall straight back down, whereas now they're actually setting into the place I want them to sit in. I'm so excited for this result, by the way. So after your time is up, you're going to remove the film and you're going to remove the product. So I like to remove my product using my applicator, and I like to save the product on the back of my hand in case I need to go in again and reapply. This saves me opening another sachet. Luckily, I didn't have to do it this time with Kirsty. So I just went in with a damp cotton pad just to remove any excess product. Once the brow area is dry, you're going to go in with step 2. This is the Reform Lotion, and you're now going to put the product all over the brow hairs. Again, working kind of fast, but making sure that product is all the way through those brows. So this stage is my favourite stage of any brow treatment. So until you have done brow lamination, you will not understand how amazing it is to brush these brows at this point. So the hairs are really, really movable. It's honestly, it's so satisfying. You can see on the video how easily the hairs move. It's just amazing. So obviously with my brush, I'm just going to move them into the position I want them to sit in. So it doesn't matter if you feel like 1 or 2 are out of place. You can rework this later on, but just try and have an overall view of how you want them to sit without the product on. Then once you're happy with it, put your film on and set them for 7 minutes. My 7 minutes is up, so I'm going to remove the film. Once I remove the film, I'm going to remove the product using an applicator. I'm just going to take all that product off, and then once I'm happy with it removed, I'm going to use a damp cotton pad and just make sure the whole of the skin area is free from any product. So just remember, when you're taking the product off, don't scruff them up and go back and forward when you're like wiping them with the cotton pad. Make sure you're removing it in the direction that you've just set the brow hairs, so you're not messing them up. So it's now time to mix the tint. So I'm going to mix brown and black for Kirsty's brows. I know that sounds quite dark, but she likes a dark colour, and because she hasn't got super thick brows, she can pull off a darker colour because it won't look too heavy on her brows. HD tint that I'm using doesn't really ever stain the skin, but for some reason when you use black tint you do get a slight staining of the skin. So when I apply this tint, I'm going to apply it a little bit neater than I usually would. If I get too messy, I can just neaten it up with a cotton bud. Just another thing, most people that will be doing brow lamination will probably be using a normal tint. So if you're using a tint that's required precise tinting, I would say make sure you take it off the bulbs a few minutes before the rest of the brow, just because you want that front to look as soft and natural as possible. You don't want it to look too blocky. So I'm just going to take a minute to clean this tint up, because as you can see, it's getting out of control and I've gone a bit messy with it. And because I've got black in there, I need to make sure I don't go too crazy. I leave this product on for about 1 to 2 minutes. Don't leave it on long at all. HD brow tint develops so fast. So I'm going to take this off using a damp cotton pad. The reason I'm using a damp cotton pad is it's going to stop the tint process from developing anymore. So it'll make sure that the colour stays about this colour. So I'm going to remove that, making sure every little trace of tint is off the brow area. So let's talk about barriers. So after laminating, your brows will become sensitive. You'll be more likely to graze. So you need to use some form of barrier. So I use a layer of oil on the skin. So I use a HD Brows Comfort Oil. You don't have to use this brand. You can use any sort of natural essential oil, just as long as you've got a nice thick layer on the skin. Now I'm going in with a powder and packing that over the top of the oil. So you can use any form of powder. I use a translucent powder by HD Brows, but you can use any form of powder. You can use a translucent powder, you can use a bronzer, you can use a highlighter powder. As long as it's a form of powder that's going to absorb the oil, you can use whatever powder you want, even corn flour. You can use, you name it, you can use it. It's brow mapping time. So I like to use a spatula and a black eyebrow pencil to map out my brows. I normally like to sit my client up to map out the brows, as I find looking at the client front on when they're sat up, it's a lot easier to find the points. For the video, obviously, Kirsty's laid down, but I tend to find it a bit easier when my client's sat up looking at me directly. So that's actually quite a good tip for you. So you just want to obviously mark out your areas you want to wax. Just a rough guide. You don't have to be totally perfect. I just like to give myself a rough sketch just so I know what hairs need to come out and what hairs need to stay. And then once you're happy with your points, you can go in and start your waxing. When applying the wax, these are a few tips that I hold on to. So first thing is, don't put too much wax on your spatula. I find if you put too much on, it becomes too messy. It's harder to take it off than it is to put on. So always apply less than what you need, and then you can always build over the top of that. Also, I like to apply my wax a little bit lower down than where I actually want to wax. And then using my spatula, I like to just drag the wax up into the brow to then get my shape and to then go over the wax to get it absolutely perfect. So I like to wax in smaller sections rather than doing it in long sections. I find it's a lot more precise and you've got a lot more control over your wax strip. Obviously remember to pull the skin nice and taut the whole way along to make sure you're not tugging on the skin. So remember not to worry if you see the skin going slightly red. Remember there's a difference between waxing and grazing. Your skin is going to go red when you're waxing a brow. It's a sensitive area and we've just ripped all the hairs from your eyelid. So it is going to go red. That's totally normal. Don't worry about that. That will soon calm down. I'm just going to remove any excess wax with some Comfort Me oil, and then I'm going to go in with my thread and just make sure I've got all the blonde fuzzy hairs on the eyelid removed, and then I'm just going to finalise them and make sure I've not missed any hairs. If I have, I'm just going to go in with my tweezers. So normally it's not recommended to put makeup on the brows 24 hours after doing any waxing or lamination. But I like to use a little bit of highlighter under the brow bone, and what it does is it just highlights if I've missed any areas. It just gives me that crisp, clean finish under the brow. And 9 times out of 10, I've always missed a couple of hairs or they're not sat in the right position. So really, it's not for the customer, it's for you to look as a guideline to see if you've missed any hairs. So as you can see, you've got your nice sharp line forming under your brow. So if any hairs come underneath that, you know that those hairs need to come out because they are not where they're supposed to be. So I'm just going to finish with my Pro Pencil. So this is by HD Brows once again. I always use the shade black, even on blonde brows. It only mimics hair strokes, so it never looks too dark. You only press really lightly on the skin just to give that little hair stroke finish. It makes the brows look denser by just drawing in any sparse areas that need a hair or two. And I bet you have already forgot what these brows looked like when we started, but don't worry, I'm going to show you a nice before and after that is going to be seriously satisfying. So this is what they looked like before. They literally pointed downwards and they wouldn't even stay put in the air, even with a bit of brow gel. And then we've gone from this to this. Complete transformation. They are now sat in the direction that I want them to sit in. They look fuller, thicker, better shape, more arch. The colour looks perfect. I'm so happy with these. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.